Hey everyone, welcome to this week's video, where we go to Coburg Aquarium to have a look at the fish, speak to the experts, and find out what are the perfect fish for our tanks at home. These ones are obviously a bit too big, but we're looking at today at some of the varieties that will be suitable for our tanks, and also what do we need to know about keeping fish. This guy, Thrinder, is going to tell us all about it, so let's get into it. I'm excited. Can you tell us how can we choose the right fish for our tank?
Yeah, for sure. So when you're choosing the fish, there's a few different things that come into play, especially your tank size. So I know you guys have a 40 centimeter by 30 centimeter tank, and you want to look at your temperature, and you guys have a 24 to 26 degree tank. So tropical fish will go in that tank there. And also the hardness is fairly low because you're growing plants off it, obviously. You want to pick fish that will either stay small in that tank because it's not a huge tank. But you also want to pick fish that will actually get along with each other too. So from that, I'd say the main things you want to go with stuff like your guppies, your different species of tetras that I'll show you, and also your algae eaters, something to clean up the base of the tank or the glass. And also you can also look at minnows and types of that, so white clouds, for example.
The first fish that we're going to look at are guppies.
So at Coburg, we've got a whole large range of guppies here. This is our assorted tank over here, so we've got a lot of scissor-tail guppies in there, some red guppies, golden guppies in there too. So basically, they're very personable fish. They'll recognize you and stuff, and they'll basically come up to the glass when you come in that tank. And the other thing about them is if you have a male and a female, you will have a lot of babies. So if you don't want to have the population increase too much in your tank, what you want to do is just have a couple males in there, and they'll get along perfectly fine as long as there's no other females, so they don't display and then try and get a female. I'd say maybe 4 or 5 of these guys and mix them with something else you like as well. You can also look at maybe putting something to clean up the rubble that's in there, and then you can have like a functioning community in that tank as well.
What would you say is the one cool characteristic about
I think for them the main thing is the colours. Like they're famous all over the world for their colours. Hundreds if not thousands of different colour variants from
Awesome.
So the tetra family is actually a pretty large family. You've got like hundreds of different species on it. So these guys here are the gold widow tetras, which is basically a gold variant of the black widow tetra, which we've got over there as well. They're actually a tropical fish that tolerate cold water, so you can actually put them in a cold water system as well. And they'll do fine in a large range of different temperatures and different water qualities as well.
Why do people like this fish?
Well, some people are scared to start off with a tropical setup, but they don't realize that it's just as easy as a cold water setup. But because these guys will tolerate the cold temperatures, this is a good starting fish for people, and they're very hardy too.
Awesome.
So you can't go wrong with these.
Great. So here we have some zebra danios, right?
That's correct. So we've actually got a fair few variants of zebra danios as well. We've got your long fin ones over here, we've got gold ones down there, and they've got some blue stripes running across with like yellow background to that blue stripe. They're actually one of the hardiest fish you can get as well. They actually do cancer research on them because they can grow back pretty much most of their fins, or pretty much any body part.
Well, how do these fish like to behave?
Yeah, so they're pretty fast-moving fish. So if you want something that's always moving around, and you don't want like a tank that's there's no movement at all, these guys will be really active all the time. So and even when it's feeding time, they'll be eating the food really quickly. So it's really cool to watch them eat, and they'll school to some extent as well, and they'll get along with most fish.
Alright, so we've gotten down on the ground for this one. We're looking at this tank here, white minnows. What can you tell us about them?
Yeah, so the golden white clouds here, this is actually an albino variant of the standard white clouds. These guys, again, are really good for cold water tanks as well, and they will tolerate warm water. I've actually had them up to 30 degrees, so they can tolerate pretty high temperatures. So if your room's going to get fluctuate a lot in temperature during summer and winter, it's a really good fish to have.
Awesome. What's the personality of these fish?
Yeah, they're very similar to like your smaller tetras, like your neons, in terms of like they will school together. But I'd say they're not as fast moving. They'll fill out the tank nicely. If there's no threat in the tank for them, they'll spread out into the tank and use up all the water column. They've got the nice golden color with the red tip on the tail, and the standard ones are usually like a brown gold color. And they're called white clouds because if you look at the top fins there, they've got that white edging, so like it looks like a little white cloud floating over.
Alright, on to the next one, eh?
Yeah. These guys are actually Siamese algae eaters, or sucking catfish to be exact. And we've got 2 different types there. We've got the black one over there, with the golden ones in here as well. Basically they'll get to a decent size, and they do a really good job cleaning any algae that grows in your tank. So that's what I mentioned, the community setups before, so you can have, say, one of these guys there cleaning the bottom, and you can have your schooling fish, say someone like your tetras, and then you can have maybe one of the widow tetras as sort of your main fish.
Awesome.
And these guys will go along with most things as long as they're well fed. So they like to eat a lot of algae. Once they get big, they will need a lot more algae, maybe more than the tank can provide. So then maybe you want to look at feeding some algae wafers to them. Until then, they should just live off what's in the tank.
Cool. So these guys are good because they can help keep your tank clean.
So any green that will grow on your glass and whatnot, they'll clean that up nicely. Look, they don't really do much. They just stick around in a corner, but they're really cool to look at. They will clean your glass and you'll see it happen.
Yeah.
But in terms of free swimming, they really just sit in one corner.
Awesome.
That's why you want to have the other fish sort of swim around so it fills the tank up.
Awesome, so we're back out in the shop now. Thanks for showing us around all the fish. We wanted to talk a little bit more about water quality and some things that people should keep in mind when they're looking after their fish at home.
So water quality is probably the most important thing in terms of keeping the fish alive. Basically, you already know that ammonia gets broken down into nitrite and then nitrate. So basically the main thing you want to do is keep your ammonia levels at pretty much 0 and nitrite levels at 0 as well. So the best way to do that would be with a test kit. So you can look at getting a test kit. We sell it on our website, coburgaquarium.com.au, and you can order it through us. And basically you want to keep your ammonia levels at 0 because that's the most toxic thing to the fish. And also you want to keep your nitrite levels at 0 as well. And nitrates you can tolerate up to about 0 to about 40 parts per million. Anything above that, then that's when you start having problems with the fish too. As long as those levels stay within that limit, that's pretty good. Your pH you want to keep close to 7. Especially because you're growing plants in there as well, and the majority of the fish that we've looked at, they're all softer water fish, so they're like slightly lower pHs or around 7, and in terms of general hardness, you want to keep it around softer water, so not too much minerals and salts in the water, just because they don't tolerate the high levels of salts.
Can you explain quickly what hardness means?
Yeah, so hardness basically means the amount of minerals in the water. So stuff like potassium, calcium, and all your different types of minerals that you will find in a river system. So depending on which area of the world that the fish are coming from, they'd be used to a different type of mineral levels in the water.
So with our systems at home, measuring the pH level is probably going to be one of the most important things. Thankfully with our microgreens on top and our underground filter, the system will do a pretty good job at taking out any of the nitrates.
Yeah.
But yeah, test kit is probably going to be a really good way to make sure, really just to keep an eye on making sure that the levels in the tank are good.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, once you get that test kit, it'll last you a very long time anyway. So once you buy that, you'll probably get 5-6 years out of it, and you just need to test it whenever you think you might be having a problem or within the initial stages of the setup. Awesome. That's when you will get the fluctuations. Once it settles out, you only really need to test it if you ever see a problem.
And I guess that kind of ties into like the well-being of the fish as well. Like we have a duty of care to look after our fish and make sure they have a good home to live in, and that means making sure that the water quality is good.
Yeah, for sure. Water quality is going to be that main part there. Like if you're overfeeding them, example like that, they're going to produce a lot of waste. So you don't want to overfeed like that. So even if you feed every couple of days, that's still fine. Just because it's better to underfeed than overfeed. Just because if you overfeed, they'll produce a lot of waste, and the system might not be able to handle that, and that'll lead to the fish dying. So you want to keep everything in control. And the main sort of nutrients you're putting into the tank is the food. So if you're overdoing that, then there's going to be too much in that tank and eventually lead to a crash.
We've had a few questions in the group, people interested how fish are actually going to get to their house.
Yeah, so I'm actually the person that does all the packaging for the online orders. So I'll be the one packaging all your fish. Basically how we do it is we'll get fish bags and we'll actually pack them with pure oxygen. So with that pure oxygen, they can last for up to 48 hours, if not longer. We've heard of cases actually going for over a week, but yours should be arriving within the next day. So 24 hours is perfectly fine for fish to be shipped in pure oxygen. And also we'll be adding some stress coat in there, which will help calm the fish down a bit, sort of like make them sleepy almost. And they'll any like hormones they produce when they're stressed out, that'll all get cancelled out by that stress coat. Okay. So they'll all be perfectly fine in that bag.
Awesome.
And they'll be put in styrene boxes, and so that'll be insulated. And because they are tropical fish, we'll be attaching a heat pad to the top as well.
And you guys do a lot of this kind of shipping every day? So
yeah, so we do it Monday to Friday every day. So we've been doing it for a very long time now. I've been doing it for close to 4 years now.
The main thing is that people have a tank ready at their home.
So you want to have everything ready and set up. Obviously, you've had it set up for a while now.
So everyone's cycling their tank at the moment, which is really cool. And once their tank is cycling
once it's
ready,
all ready, you can just order it through us, and then it'll go through and get delivered the next day.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for showing us around.
Thank you for coming by.
Everyone's getting really excited for their fish at home, and they've all been really interested to learn more about the varieties that they're getting. So cheers. All right.